Hi, welcome to Attainable Green. I'm Jess, and today we're going to be talking about some tasks to do during the summertime. We want to make sure that our orchids are doing well during the summer season, and as the weather warms up, we definitely have a few things to consider. I'm going to share a couple of tips on making sure your plants stay healthy and hydrated during this hot summer season. So let's dive right in. Number one, you want to check the light. As the light is hitting your windows, it may be increasing in intensity and in strength, and that may cause some sunburn issues on some of your plants. So we want to be aware of what the light is doing during this summer season, and we just want to make sure that they're not too bright for some of the plants. If you're growing outdoors, you may have some shade netting up already, or otherwise you may be moving plants to slightly shadier areas with some covered, protected places for your orchids. I have some plants that are outside in my side yard, and I have to put shade cloth over them. The majority of them get about a 50% shade cloth. For my Phalaenopsis, they definitely need like a 75% shade cloth to really thrive outside. But I only have 50%, so they're just going to have to survive with that, and hopefully they will make it through without too many detrimental problems. If you do have your plants near the window, now may be the time to reassess to see if it's getting enough light, if it needs to be moved from any other location, and just to check to make sure that your plants are getting a decent amount of light. There are a couple of things to note to figure out if your plant is getting enough light. If the leaves of your plants are dark green and they are not usually that color, then you know that it's not getting enough light. You may see some stretching of the leaves, some of the stalks may be higher than usual. That may be a sign that it needs more light. Conversely, if the plant is getting too much light, you will definitely know. In some cases, the leaves may start turning a yellow tone. In other cases, if the flowers tend to have more of a purple look or a red coloration, you may notice that the leaves may start to turn purple or have spots. So that's totally normal. That's just the anthocyanin kicking in to protect the plant. For some plants that have a glaucous layer, you may see kind of this powdery film that may appear on the plant that doesn't wipe away. All of those things are what the plant does to protect itself when there are high light situations. If the light is way too strong and it's way too hot, you may notice patches of sunburn. Now, sunburn presents itself in many different ways. Sometimes it may take a couple of days to appear. Sometimes it may just take a few hours or a few minutes, just depending on the strength and intensity of the light. Sunburn can appear as kind of white, bleached out portions of the leaves. It can also show up as black spots, white spots, yellow patches. There's a whole range of what sunburn can look like, but just be mindful and aware that those things can happen, and depending on the severity, you may have to trim off a portion of the leaf, or you can leave it because it's still photosynthesizing, and so the plant needs as much energy as possible. While a small sunburn may not be that harmful to a plant, if the entire plant itself has been subjected to a lot of sunlight, then that can really harm the surface of the leaves. In that case, you definitely want to put it in a shadier area to let it recover, and just to keep one eye on any secondary infections that may develop. Since it's hot and humid in some areas of the United States, there can be fungus or bacterial issues because of sunburn. So some things to notice would be kind of this wet look of the leaves. If you notice some sort of squishiness under the leaf surface, and also if you notice maybe any black rot or anything like that. So you want to treat that as soon as possible. You could either use Physant 20, hydrogen peroxide, a fungicide, or something along those lines to make sure that you treat the plant so that it just doesn't deteriorate in health. During the summer season is when you're most likely to get these kind of heat-related or light-related issues, and you just want to make sure that you don't stress out the plant too much. Same with humans. If it gets too hot, you start to sweat. Plants perspire as well, but you can't really see it, and that's a cause for concern because if you don't notice, the plants may start to look a little bit dehydrated. So that leads into our second point, is to mind your waterings. So as the temperatures heat up, you want to increase the watering or the humidity around the plant as much as possible. Here in Southern California, we get hot but dry summers, and we definitely have to compensate with a lot of water. Sometimes the temperatures can hit the hundreds, and in that case, I pretty much water my plants every day. When you're watering your plants, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. It's not just throwing water on a plant when it's hot. There are just a few considerations just to make sure you don't stress the plant even more. First of all, if you're going to increase the waterings of your plant, it would be best to water your plants heavily either the day before or the night before. Usually in the early mornings or late evenings after the temperatures have kind of cooled down. During the middle of the day and the heat of the day is not really the best time to water your plants heavily because that can just really stress it out. Sometimes if there is water left on the leaves during the hottest times of the day, that can magnify the intensity of the sun and cause additional burning issues or sunburn problems. So that's why we don't want to really water heavily during the hottest times of the day. If you still need to water your plants during those warm times of the day, I would suggest to adopt a misting ritual. When I talk about misting, I'm not talking about spritzing your plant 2 times and that's it. It's more like a dedicated spray for several minutes. You just want to bump up enough humidity to cool down the air around the plant so that it can stay well hydrated. Now, grouping your plants together can also increase the humidity of that area, and also if you have a more protected space or an enclosed area, that can also boost the humidity as well. You just want to make sure that there is a good cross breeze or a fan just to make sure that the air is circulating and it's not staying too stale. Personally, for my collection, all my indoor plants are starting to get watered about twice a week, and any of my plants that are outdoors is getting watered about every other day. And this is for temperatures between 80 degrees and higher. As it hits the 90s or even the hundreds, I just determine how fast the plants are drying off. And if it gets really hot, then I have to water almost every day. If the temperatures dip down, then I can back off on the waterings. In my current location, it can get very hot and dry outside, so that's why I take extra precautions. Now, when it comes to dehydration, you can definitely see them on Ascidian type orchids. You can see the pseudobulbs are nice and plump. You know that it's well hydrated. But as it starts to get dehydrated, if it needs more water, you'll notice the wrinkling in the pseudobulbs. And in some cases, it can be quite severe so that the wrinkles are very pronounced and the pseudobulb looks very thin. However, if this happens over a shorter period of time, then you know that that might be a root problem. So you want to check the roots first if you notice the wrinkling of the pseudobulbs happening very quickly. However, it's been a gradual process and you haven't been keeping up with the waterings, then if you do a thorough soaking of the plant, then it'll plump back up pretty quickly. I've noticed on some of my Oncidiums and my Zygopetalums, if I don't water it regularly during this season, it gets quite shriveled. But once I resume regular waterings again, then they plump right back up. So it's not a huge issue if those plants don't get enough water because they have storage organs to handle it. Now, conversely, for monopodial orchids like phals and vandas and arangus, they don't really have those storage organs. They don't have pseudobulbs. So maintaining the watering for these plants is very important. I notice on some of my compact vandas, you'll see a little bit of wrinkling along the stem or along the leaves, and that's definitely a sign that it needs some water. Depending on what orchid you have, there are different signs of dehydration in your plant, so you just want to make sure that you just keep an eye on that and don't let the plant get too stressed out or dehydrated. Another sign can be that the leaves might start to look a little floppy, may wrinkle over, or just not have the same rigidity or turgidity that it has when it's well hydrated. Now, the third thing to keep in mind is that you may have to shuffle your plants around and move those plants into different locations, and that's totally okay. A portion of my orchids stay inside during the summer season, and a portion of my plants stay outside for the summer season. And sometimes during cooler weather, they swap. Sometimes they're just around in those locations permanently. So I have to assess what my plants are doing, what they like best, and make some considerations for them. For example, all my Miltoniopsis are currently moved from the outdoors to indoors. That's because as the temperature hits over 85 degrees, these plants kind of stop producing and stop growing. Their metabolism starts to slow down because they don't like the hot temperatures. They can definitely survive during those times, but I just don't want to stress them out even more. And now they're hitting their blooming season, so I don't want to have any blood blast or anything. So I'm bringing all my Miltoniopsis indoors so they can get slightly cooler temperatures indoors. Inside, my max temperatures are about 80, max 85 degrees Fahrenheit, but outdoors it can be even higher. So that's something that I try to keep in mind. My Zygopetalums can also handle the heat, and this year they're just going to have to stay outside 24/7. I'm not bringing them indoors, although they will do a little bit better when the weather cools off. But for now, we're just going to do the experiment to see how high of a temperature they can handle and see if they will pull through. When it comes to vandas, I'm moving a lot of my compact vandas outdoors so that they can get increased sunshine, increased heat, and they seem to do a lot better. I just have to keep up with the waterings for them so they don't dry out too fast. But overall, I think they enjoy being outside during the summer season. Cattleyas definitely like the heat. Currently, I have them on my second-story patio. They get kind of dappled light and also strong, intense light. So you can definitely see some of the heat stress or sun stress on some of these plants. And to me, that's totally fine because they are not burning. In fact, I've chosen certain plants that can do well in high light, almost full sun conditions. So that's why I think I don't have a huge issue with my Cattleyas. Of course, it may not look as pretty to have this kind of sun stress on the Cattleyas, but I think they bloom better with the extra heat. As long as I maintain watering for them, I think they're fine, and it's easy to see if they need water because the bulbs shrivel up a little bit. Now, with any season that you're dealing with plants, you just want to make sure you're constantly checking your collection for any possible problems. You want to be able to be in a situation where you're preventing issues rather than reacting to them. So by doing some of these things, you want to make sure that you keep your collection as healthy as possible so that you don't have any bacterial issues, any fungus issues, any infections. By having the plants in a healthier condition and less stressed, they also will be stronger against any pest pressures. So they will be able to fight off any attack from mealybugs, scales, spider mites, thrips, all of that. If they're healthy, then they can fight it off and it won't be a huge infection. And during this time is when the pest pressures are the strongest. That basically means that these pests will reproduce and grow and multiply really quickly in a short amount of time because as the temperature heats up, they reproduce faster. And if you don't get a hold on it quick, it can spread quickly. So those are the things just to keep in mind. As long as you observe your collection regularly and you just take note of how the plants are doing, I think you're gonna have some pretty healthy plants during the summer season, and hopefully you'll have some beautiful blooms as well. So those are my tips for the summer season, and I hope you're enjoying your orchids and enjoying this growing season. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel Attainable Green to follow along on my orchid growing journey. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!